Hello, this is Maaria from home. Today I'm trying the Quran oral exam. So hello Professor Mulki and hello anybody else who might watch this, as I plan to publish this later on if I'm happy with what I'm talking. So I will talk about Surat al-Ikhlas, which in English means sincerity or purity of faith. And it's number 112 in the Quran, one of the shortest, and at the very end, so there's only two after it. And it has only 4 ayahs. So first I'm gonna read it in English using the translation by Abdullah Yusuf Ali. In the name of God, most gracious, most merciful, say, He is God, the one and only, God, the eternal absolute. He begetteth not, nor is he begotten, and there is none like unto him. Surat al-Ikhlas is a Meccan surah, and there are in a very small packets 2 big themes that are repeated many times in the Quran and are very important in Islam. First of all, the absolute monotheism, the idea that there is only one God who is very big, he is above our understanding, and he's everlasting. And 2, this God was not born and he didn't give birth. The second part can be like against Christianity, the idea of Trinity and the idea of Jesus as God's son. Yusuf Ali has one interesting interpretation which I'm going to read from this book. So he says, we have to know that his nature is so sublime, so far beyond our limited conceptions, that the best way in which we can realize him is to feel that he is a personality. He, and not a mere abstract conception of philosophy. He also writes, He is near us, he cares for us, we owe our existence to him. So this is his interpretation, because I don't see in this text anything about God's love, even though it can be read elsewhere in the Quran, of course. And I already recognize the opposition to Christianity without reading this book, but Yusuf Ali also points out that this is to negate the Christian idea of the Godhead. And at the end, he says that this sums up the whole argument and warns us especially against anthropomorphism. So we shouldn't think that God is anything like humans. Next, we are going to talk about the linguistic features, and for that I will try to read the surah in Arabic. Let's go. Bismillahi Rahmani Rahim. Kul hu Allahu Ahad. Allahu Samad. Lam yalid ve lam yulad. Ve lam yakullahu kufuwan ahad. So we can hear there is rhyme, poetic style, which is typical to the Meccan period. The last syllable has the same vowel, ending vowel, and ending consonant repeated. We have ahad, samad, yulad, ahad. Ahad repeated all the time. And now I want to add something about the name of the surah. as I learned from the study Quran, that Ikhlas is not typical in the sense that the name is not a word that is in the surah, but rather it describes the content of the surah. And here it says that the title Al-Ikhlas instead describes its content, as it denotes a combination of sincerity, devotion, and purity, and can also indicate being saved, khalasa. Then we have a question. How the chapter speaks to 7th century Arabia, and in what way it could be relevant to modern day Muslims. So let us think, who were the audience, the first audience of the Prophet in the Meccan period? Anybody who lived there. There was no religion built yet. There were no Muslims. So he spoke to the Christians, to the Jews, and the people who practiced polytheism. And in that context, he wanted to point out that there is only one God, and perhaps also this opposition to Christianity, even though we don't especially know what kind of Christians those people were. This is something Ilkka Lindstedt has written about, that the Christology, which means in which way we see Jesus, might be low or high, in the sense that in high Christology, Jesus is the Son of God, and then he can be son as adopted at some point of his career, for instance, when he was baptized by John. So in that interpretation, he wasn't born from God. And then he could also be just a human, just an example for us. So in the beginning of Christianity, there were lots of discussions about this role of Jesus, who he was, who he himself said he was, who Paul, for instance, thought he was, and then all the people after him, the church fathers, everybody through the centuries. And for modern day believer, I think this might be encouraging passage that God is there, he is great, and we can also trust him. So actually, even if I'm a Christian, I can read this passage with no problem, because it's not like God gave birth to Jesus, but it was Virgin Mary through the Holy Spirit. To the end, just a short notion of language. As in Arabic, we had the Yalid, Yulad, and this root was familiar to me from Hebrew, as in Hebrew, for instance, Yeled means a child. But then again, the word begotten in English, I wasn't familiar to that. So I had to check the Finnish translation, and then I was surprised that Jaakko Hämeen Anttila is using a word siita, which means like the male giving semen. Why is that? I don't know. I don't know Arabic so well yet, so I need to study that, of course, but then we all maybe could think, what is God like? That is the questions that is raised from this surah to me. So goodbye.